What's going on, everybody? My name is Badatui, and today we're bringing you guys part 4 of our draft viability discussion series. Of course, joining me is the ever so... I was going to put some adjective there, but you can just go ahead.
Hello, I am still Schady and I'm still better than Mono.
I'm really good at intros.
Yes,
So...
that too, yeah.
So the last time we left off with the series, we covered Keldeo, both its form and the very different Keldeo Resolute form. So this time, I'm going to be going over Klefki, which I think is a really cool mod in the format. Definitely one that I think not necessarily underutilized, because people have definitely used it successfully, but a mon that is relatively straightforward, but definitely has some pretty cool utility options. Steel Fairy is an absolutely amazing typing. Probably one of the best typings in the game. It's one of the things that made Mega Mawile incredibly good, bar of course its ridiculous attack stat, but its typing was just incredible as well. Doesn't have the best stats in the world, but if you invest, it can definitely be very bulky, and like I said, with the typing it's really nice. It's a very good dragon check. Switches into the Latias very reliably, obviously is immune to Draco Meteor, resists the Psychic Stab from them, resists a lot of different things. It has a lot of resistances. It also has access to Prankster Magnet Rise, which can make you immune to ground-type attacks, which is very, very nice. Has not the best offensive presence, but it can be decent with foul play. Obviously, you can hit ghost types or things that are weak to it. Also, you can hit, obviously, physical setup sweepers. You do get access to things like Dazzling Gleam, Play Rough, Flash Cannon, whatever hidden power you want to run if you do want to do that. It does get access to Psychic. The big thing that Klefki likes to do is set up spikes or spread around status, typically Thunderwave. Prankster Thunderwave is extremely, extremely good, and your opponent is always going to be afraid of that. You can possibly set up a spike on their switch out, or just set up spikes on whatever you wall. It also has some gimmick options like Switcheroo. Dual Screens is also very viable as well, because of course it does get Prankster Screens. Does get access to Magic Coat, so you can bounce back your opponent's hazards. And yeah, there's not too much else to go over on this. I guess we can mention Fairy Lock. It prevents all Pokemon from switching next turn. I haven't really seen that too often, but it is something that I think has seen some use and has been relatively useful in the past. There's Heal Block as well, which is a cool gimmick option. You can stop your opponent's Pokemon from healing themselves, which is really, really nice.
I was going to say
that. One of my favorite gimmick options on this thing is definitely Metal Sound. It lowers your the opposing Pokemon's split F by 2, which is always very, very nice, because you can, like for example, in the Summer Showdown tournament thing, I used Metal Sound Klefki versus Combine Reuniclefs, and I was able to beat it. You can get split F drops on anything that would be able to switch into Klefki, and then just spam Dazzling Gleam and be able to beat them, which is really nice. Like I said, it beats Combine Sweepers because of that, which is very nice. And I don't know if there's too much else to go over. If I missed anything, you can go ahead and go over it now.
I mean, I used Klefki for a while, and I really, really like this mon, actually. I think people don't like it as much because it's like the typical cleric fairy, but it still does the job. Like, it stops dragons really easily. Well, a lot of them. Honestly, it doesn't, but you know. You get the point. I think it would be a lot better if it got Iron Head, but it doesn't because Freak is silly. It also has the option of running things like Torment. Torment is kind of a cool move, especially on Prankster users, to just annoy the hell out of your opponent. Potentially, like with sub-toxic Torment, that's really gross, you can do that. And it also pranks the Weather Setter, so it's always cool if your team has some weather up, like a Chlorophyll or Swiftwing Pokemon. You can use things to set that up, and that's pretty cool, especially with dual screens, so you get the free switch-in, or free safe switch-in, I guess. And it's cool. Like I just like Klefki. It does its job pretty much, and Prankster spikes are just very, very valuable. It's pretty much all this. Also, it's like 2/3 of a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. Yeah. That's also kind of cool.
Yeah, like it's a very good supportive mon for your team. Most teams, really. Like you said, it does cover the Steel typing. It does cover the Fairy typing. It's not the best Fairy check, just because it can switch into them, but it doesn't hit them back very hard, just because you have base 80 special attack Flash Cannon, and a lot of Fairies have very good special defense. But like I said, you can kind of deal with that by using something like Metal Sound, or just paralyzing them, because paralyzing is always good, or just getting off like a Prankster Toxic or whatever. Plus, you can always set up spikes versus your opponent's Fairy anyway.
Yeah, or you can heal block them and then just wear them down, which also works.
Yeah. Has the calm mindset ever been successful?
I think Riz swept someone with it, or almost swept someone. So like, it's there, it exists.
It's there. I don't know if it would ever work. I know Steve used it, and I think that was the game he got 6-0'd, so didn't worry out the game. Also, your league should have Prankster Swagger banned, but if it doesn't, then this thing is even better, quote unquote. I don't know if I want to say better or more ridiculously annoying. Because the sub foul play Swagger set is just ridiculous, and you know, if you want everyone, if you don't care about everyone on the planet hating you, then definitely pick this thing up very, very early then, because it is very hard to take down at that point. It's entirely based on RNG, and usually you're going to come out on the front end of it just because you get Prankster subs, Prankster Swaggers, yeah.
Sub, T-Wave, Swagger, and Torment.
Torment or foul play?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Best set.
But yeah, even without Swagger, it is still a very solid mon. Very good Spiker, very good typing, very good Dragon Check, and very good status spreader. So.
Yo, we didn't mention Magician, the best ability in the game.
Oh yeah, Magician, right.
I don't even know what it does. It's like pickpocket, but like the opposite, I think. So
if the opposing Pokemon has no item, it steals the item. So like, suppose you get knocked off and then you like hit something, you steal their item, which
really important.
Yeah, super
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, don't run that. Okay, that's Klefki.
Yeah, Klefki, it's cool. Draft it, try it out.
Another cool guy. Yeah, drafted it. I use it to check Magnezone, which is cool. So yeah, moving on, we have Kyurem-Black, a very interesting Pokemon. Very frequently discussed Pokemon, if it should be allowed in draft format or not. I'm personally too much of a pussy, so I don't want it in my league, because I enjoy switch-ins, but that's just me being a loser. It's that. Kyurem-Black, stupidly strong, 170 attack, 120 special attack, and then the bulk is also ridiculous, 125, 190. Only big letdown in stats-wise it's the speed and 95, which is still decent enough combined with the bulk and power. Kyurem-Black is an interesting Pokemon. As I said, a lot of leagues ban it, a lot of leagues allowed, and it then goes undrafted, which is pretty funny. It doesn't have the greatest move pool, but it has pretty much all it needs. Like, it has Dragon Style on both sides, and a ban out, which is gonna hurt everything. It has Earth Power to hit a lot of Steel types. It has Fusion Bolt to hit a lot of Steel types like Skumry, pretty much only Skumry, and I guess Empoleon. It gets Ice Beam. It doesn't get Ice Punch or Ice Crash. Why, I don't know, but I'm pretty happy about it because that would make it even more annoying. It gets like Focus Blast for a couple of other things. It gets Hidden Powers. A set that I really like in 5th gen, which I don't think is viable at all anymore, is the Sub-Honeclaw's Dragon Tail variant with Roost. Like Spike Stacking, which was really, really cool, but I don't think that's too viable. But if your opponent doesn't have a fairy, doesn't have good removal, you can try that and just be that guy. Like, I think Kyurem-Black also has a really cool, like, not cool, but like a weird defensive typing that gives it a couple options. It's not weak to Ice for Dragon, which is cool. So you can check it with like Ice Shard if it's like a Scarf Kyurem-Black like.
I mean, it is weak to
it's
Dragon.
Not gonna do much. Did I say Dragon? I meant Ice. Same thing.
It's okay.
It's basically same type. I meant Ice, okay? It's not weak to Ice. So you can check it with Ice Shard like as easily because it just chews it because it's really bulky. Also sub 3 attacks or sub Roost is also really, really good. Scarf is always good. It's just, it doesn't have switch-ins. I think the only thing I can reliably switch into it is like Mega Audino, which doesn't take Bandit Ironhead, I suppose. But
doesn't
like,
take it. It's 2 KO'd by extra belt Ironhead.
See, there you go. So yeah, Kyurem-Black doesn't have switch-ins. It's just Pokemon you have to check offensively, which depending on your playstyle can be really hard or really easy. So yeah, but it's a really great stall breaker or just, you know, core breaker, I suppose, which I like to call things that break cores. Yeah. Good one. So yeah, it gets Flash Cannon and Ironhead to hit fairies as well. Just give the thing an offensive item and kill shit, or have it be bulky and roost up on stuff and make your opponent hate you. Like Subtoxic Kyurem-Black is totally viable. It's really gross because it's really bulky, but it's really viable. And like, I know you have to check the thing offensively, but it's not as easy as people make it out to be, even though it does have a fair amount of weaknesses because Ice is a fucking awful typing. As I said, 125, 190 bulk is ridiculous. So it just lives a lot of hits, and you're just like, oh, right, that's dead. It's gone. Thanks, Kyurem-Black. So yeah. As I said, reliable recovery. It gets dual screen as well, which you can run. Black, shout to Fred. But don't do it. Like, just don't. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on Kyurem-Black. It's a really strong Pokemon. If you need a strong wall breaker and Kyurem-Black is there, I definitely recommend it. Also, make sure you have good hazard removal with the thing because it does not appreciate them stealth rocks. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, or you could be like Joey, where you just draft this thing and then get Flygon as your hazard removal. One of my, I think one of my favorite sets that I've ever seen somebody use on Kyurem-Black was actually in an OU live that Matty Brawlick did, where he brought Banded Freeze Shock.
Oh yeah, Sam did it as well, like Power Up, I think.
That's really cool. But I think Banded Freeze Shock after rocks Oko's Ferrothorn, which was pretty sweet. Or like it comes very close to Okoing standard Ferrothorn, which is ridiculous. Freeze Shock, not typically seen because you have Ice Beam on the special side, and obviously the charging really sucks, even though it does have the 30% paralyzed chance. Just having to charge it sucks, so unless you're running Power Herb, you're not typically going to run that, and even then it's usually better to just run Ice Beam. So that frees up your item slot. You pretty much covered everything. It's nearly impossible to switch into. Pretty much the only thing that switches into this thing kind of happily would be Cresselia, but like even then I think Banded Outrage will be able to a KO it, maybe even Life Orb Outrage or something like that. The best way to beat Kyurem-Black is to find out as quickly as possible what set it is. Like if you see Leftovers, you're probably going to know it's sub. If you see Life Orb, you're either going to think like 4 attacks or like 3 attacks Roost. You're probably not going to expect sub, though I have seen sub Life Orb with Roost on this thing before. It is so incredibly bulky. This thing loves setting up subs versus pretty much every electric type, bar ones that have fighting coverage, so like the Thundees or Heliolisk, and even then, you do live that Focus Blast if you're running like a little bit of HP and you're able to knock them out with either Ice Stab or a physical move or Earth Power.
Also on water types, it subs on water types.
Yeah, it subs on water types as well because obviously you get the sub, you take the Scald easily without it breaking your sub, and then you can hit him with the Fusion Bolt.
Weak to ice.
This, you cannot hard switch in most fairies in on this thing because the 2 Akios, like we said, Mega Audino with Iron Head, Clefable, Florges, things like that, and then this thing is so bulky where an uninvested Moonblast is not going to knock it out. So, yeah. It is a very good wall breaker. This is a mon I have used before, and I really loved using it. I wasn't super creative with it. I typically brought Expert Belt most weeks just because I just like putting 4 moves on this thing that hit my opponent's entire team super effectively, and then you're not taking Life Orb recoil, you can bluff a Scarf. But there are so many different things this can do. You can run all 3 choice items, like you can run Specs with like Draco Meteor and Ice Beam, you can run Scarf, you can run Banded, you can easily run Mixed. It's just so good. I have faced it before as well, and it's kind of like Zard X, where it's definitely scarier to prep for because you're like, oh my god, this thing Okos or 2 Akios my entire team. It's not as bad when you're actually facing it because you should have your checks to it, but it definitely is something that is nearly impossible to switch into unless you predict very well, and is not super difficult to check offensively, but can be harder to check offensively than you may expect, just because of the natural bulk it has. So if you're facing a Kyurem-Black, definitely prioritize hazards, and definitely prioritize, like if you have priority like Bullet Punch or Mach Punch, definitely bring that on your team. And definitely bring something that can, maybe like even berries, like a Yachi Berry, or like if you have a fairy, you can bring the Beery Berry so you can hit it with a Moonblast.
Yeah, and make sure you don't get flinched like I did.
Yeah, that too. Make sure you never get flinched. Always very important. Kyurem-Black, I think most leagues have agreed to not ban this thing. In fact, I think PPL was like the only one that did have a ban for a while. But
my fault. I'm happy about it.
But now,
fuck this thing.
But now it is currently unbanned in like pretty much every league, and it still is super good, but we have seen instances where it just doesn't end up doing a lot. Like if you're going up against a faster, more offensive team, then it will struggle a bit because everything outspeeds it and everything has coverage to hit it, especially if there are hazards up. You can Oko this thing, not super easily, but it is possible to Oko after hazards, so yeah, super good. Can definitely be checked, can definitely be dealt with, but doesn't take away from the fact that it is incredibly strong, incredibly bulky, and incredibly good on most teams. Okay, and now that Kyurem has been covered, let's move on to a mon that probably a lot of people have different opinions about. I'm of the opinion that it's really solid and nobody has taken advantage of it quite as much as I think people could, and that is going to be Landorus-Therian. So Lando-T, I think, is the most common Pokemon in OU and has been the most common Pokemon in OU for the longest time. Like, if you're not running a Lando-T, you're running Garchomp. That's, yeah, pretty much. I think this is on over 30% of teams, which is absurd.
I think almost 40, yeah.
Yeah, almost 40. So, like, every third game, you're bound to run into a Lando-T, even though it feels like it's on literally every team. You can throw this on pretty much any standard team and have it do whatever you want it to do. You can run Earth Plate as a wall breaker. You can run Scarf as the late game sweeper. Also, as a fast U-turn user, you can run it bulky with leftovers or a Rocky Helmet, have it take physical hits and be a very nice bulky pivot. It sets up Stealth Rocks as well. In League play, it can do all of those things as well. Choice Scarf, Earth Plate Wall Breaker, and defensive to just take hits from physical attackers very nicely. It is extremely bulky. Life Orb, Thundy-Eye's HP Ice will not knock out max HP Landorus-Therian, which is very impressive, just because, again, it doesn't look like it's super bulky on the special side, but when you invest, it definitely is, and it, of course, has Intimidate to increase its physical defense as well. Its typing is very solid as well. Of course, it does have the 4x Ice weakness and the Water weakness, but other than that, you're able to resist a lot. You're able to resist crucial attacks like Fighting. You're obviously immune to Electric. You're immune to Ground. So it covers holes that way very nicely, and Ice is relatively easy to patch up anyway with a Steel or a bulky Water. 145 physical attack is really, really nice. Even uninvested, this thing is doing a lot of damage to your opponent's Pokemon. And it has a usable special attack as well, and it does have a decent special move pool, such as like Psychic, Sludge Bomb, Grass Knot, Earth Power as well, so you can definitely capitalize on mixed options. You can even run Hidden Powers. 91 speed is nice. It's not the best, but it is nice. You are able to have speed base 90s by 1 point, like you can have speed Lucario and knock it out before it hits you with an Ice Punch. Of course, there are also other viable options as well. We have seen people run like a sub SD Power Herb Fly set, which is kind of funny, but on Landorus, it's actually somewhat viable, because obviously it is Stab Fly, and it does hurt a lot with a base 145 attack stat. If your opponent has, like, a Mega Venusaur, then you can definitely run something like that. Double Dance is one of my favorites as well, like Earthquake, Stone Edge, or Earthquake and whatever coverage move you need, and then Rock Polish and Swords Dance, just because, again, this thing hits so incredibly hard. You're able to boost your speed to possibly sweep late game, or you can just boost your physical attack and 2-KO pretty much anything in the game. It has a very nice physical move pool. Like I said, Quake Edge, it has access to Explosion. Some Scarf users run Explosion. It, of course, has access to things like Hammer Arm, Superpower, Knockoff, has Outrage, which you're probably never going to use, but it's there and it's cool. Rock Slide as well for a little bit more accurate of rock coverage. And then, of course, it does have U-Turn. So there are a lot of different things Lando-T can be used for. Its success in League play, though, hasn't really been apparent. I don't know if it's ever been in an MVP race in GBA or PPL. It's very rarely even been drafted in PPL.
It wasn't.
It was what?
In the PPL for a while, because I swept week 1 within season 1.
Ah, good work. But yeah, Lando-T is a mon that has a very good stat distribution, very good typing, very good power, but hasn't really seen a lot of success. And I guess you can go over maybe why.
I honestly don't know why. I think a lot of people just use defensive Pokemon or like a pivot, which I did when I had it in season 1. So like, as a pivot, it does its job, but it dies more quickly than it does in standard play, because obviously you have to prep. Everything has ice coverage if they play Lando-T. So that's kind of why 91 speed isn't the greatest. So that's that as well. And I think Air Balloon is just a good item that people tend to bring when they play Lando-T. At least that's what I feel. One set that you didn't mention, I'm very glad you didn't, because it's my favorite Lando-T set of all time, is Gravity. Gravity makes Lando-T even bigger of a threat. I brought it once against a team whose only ground immunities were like Weezing, Rotom Cut, and Skarmory. So if you make all of those be grounded because of Gravity, you destroy the opponent's team pretty much with just Earthquake. So you can bring sub SD, Earthquake, and Gravity, and just destroy teams that way. I think John brought it into GBA to deal with potential Magnezone Klefki, which worked perfectly. I think it was SmackDown. SmackDown works as well. So you have those two options, which is really cool, so you don't have to worry about ground immunities as much. I think like Bulk Up and Calm Mind are cool options, but I have never seen them used, and I really want to, because that sounds cool. And could be a big surprise for your opponent, because if they rely on like HPIs to knock it out, you could get a Calm Mind or two, then it's not working. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know why, but like it just doesn't work that much. People don't draft it as much either, because they're like, oh no, Lando-I is not good in draft because it has a 4x weakness, which is a pretty silly reasoning. But if you want to draft a thing, which again I recommend honestly, get a bulky water with it, because that covers up its weaknesses very, very well. Get a good bulky water type, like Vaporeon or whatever you want. Probably Vaporeon, because if the thing gets burned, you can heal well. That works perfectly. And I also recommend getting another ground type that is now weak to ice. Something like a Seismitoad, for example. So your opponent's electro types can't just run a hidden power and smack you in the face. They have to choose between two, and then one of your electro types, ground types, is going to deal with it, and that's pretty spicy. Yeah, I don't know, just draft Lando-I and make it do things, please. It's a cool Pokemon, it's strong as hell. Also, you use Special. Special is cool.
Yeah, definitely. This is also one of those Pokemon where you can build a specific set to beat its usual counters. Like you said,
Yes.
Gravity and Smackdown are really nice to beat things like Skarmory and Rotom Wash. I've also, a long time ago, in like a practice battle versus somebody, I remember I brought Sub SD Quake Edge, and then I was able to switch into Chestnut, get the Intimidate off, set up a sub, and then it couldn't break my sub, and you're able to beat it that way. Even though I could have just run Hidden Power Flying, I felt like being cool. So like, this thing does have a lot of different options. It's one of those mons where, like, in Standard and on immediate paper, like when you first look at it, you think it's going to be relatively set in stone. There's the Scarf set, there's the Bulky set, there's the Earth Plate set, but there are a bunch of different things you can do with this thing, and I don't think people have utilized its potential fully yet.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so that's Lando-I. You should draft it.
That is
It's a pretty
Lando-I.
easy
I guess.
Pokemon, in my opinion.
I guess, should we talk about Lando-I?
Nah.
Alright.
Maybe we can, but like, sure, if you want to.
Alright, I guess I'll bring up Lando-I as well. So, a lot of leagues ban it. A lot of leagues are also now, like, leaning towards banning it. And I don't disagree with the ones who want to ban it. Like, it's ridiculously good. It already has very few switch-ins in the game already. And knowing your opponent's team is going to make the occasional 4-move slot syndrome it had when it was allowed in OU to really diminish. Like, if you know your opponent has a Lottie or like a Mesprit or something like that, you can run knockoff for it. Even if they're running Colbur Berry, you're still knocking off that Colbur Berry. They still don't necessarily want to switch into Sludge Waves or knockoffs after that, or even like U-turns or something like that. And it's one of those mons where if it gets set up, it can just straight up 6-0 a team, because one of the best ways to check it is by running Scarfers or something with Ice Shard that'll be able to beat it. But it's also a very good berry user. We've seen Lars use Yachi Berry Landorus multiple weeks. We've seen many people use Yachi Berry on this thing so that it can take Ice Shards or like weaker Icicle Crashes, Ice Punches, Ice Beams even, and then knock out your opponent's Pokemon. It doesn't need a Life Orb to OHKO a lot. Like, it's just very naturally strong with a high special attack, high physical attack stat with Sheer Force as well. It's one of those mons where if you predict wrong and you switch out trying to save your Pokemon and it sets up a Rock Polish, you can lose. It's one of those mons where you're forced to stay in because you know if your opponent goes for a Rock Polish, you lose, and then it just kills you. So it forces a lot of mind games. Typically those mind games are going to be in favor of whoever's using Lando-I, and even if you just bring standard Lando-I with like 3 attacks or 4 attacks, it's going to put in work because it's just so difficult to switch into. It can be relatively hard to check offensively as well, because like I mentioned with Lando-I, it has a solid typing, and berries are a thing. So it's super scary, and like it's something that very few people, nobody ever wants to prep for it, and it's understandable as to why people would want it banned from a league.
Yeah. I'm gonna just give my 2 cents on Lando-I. People always mention it has a 4-times weakness, and therefore it's manageable, which is a very, very, very silly reasoning. Because for one, Ice Shard is very rare, and there are not many good users. There are like 4, maybe 5 at max that are actually good and viable. It's like, that's not a good reason. And just like Genocide has a 4-times weakness, that doesn't make it, okay. And I think like Lando-I doesn't tend to 6-0 teams unless you prep for it really, really badly. But like the thing it does is punch holes and make other things break through pretty much. When you've prepped enough for Lando-I and you manage to deal with it, something else is going to come in and ruin your life. That's pretty much how I look at Lando-I, or most things that I think are broken in draft format. But like anything is manageable, but it's going to tear a hole in your team to the point where you lose to other things. It's kind of how other things got banned from OU, like Mega Gengar. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on Lando-I. I think it should be allowed. It's really, really, really strong, and it just doesn't have many switch-ins. Like people always mention those bulky, levitating psychic types, but there aren't that many. They're not good. So it doesn't help. Like 5 people have a counter, and the league just loses.
Yeah, and plus if your team has a Pursuit Trapper, which it should, then you're fine anyway.
Yeah.
Something people have been considering to make Landorus like less broken would be just banning Sheer Force on it, which I think definitely makes sense. It's still going to be very strong, and its typing is still going to be very good, but you're going to be able to obviously see the Life Orb recoil, so there's less mind games with that going on. It's still not hitting as hard, so it won't be OHKOing quite as much, which is nice. And you're just not getting the extra boost on the attacks, so that could definitely be viable. I'd still say it would be really, really good, but I think if you take away its Sheer Force ability, then it's definitely easier to handle and probably more viable to just put in the what's the word I'm looking for? More viable to be made legal and draftable.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone do that yet. I kind of want to see that. It'd be interesting to see. Okay, so I guess we're gonna move on from that.
Yep. Your turn.
And continue with... Oh, Jesus, okay. We're gonna move on with the mon that I have like a lot more, and it is Latias. Latias, of course, known in OU being arguably one of the best, if not the best, defogger in the tier, and it still does it in draft play. Typing is good. Dragon Psychic is just a good typing defensively as well as offensively. 110 speed is dope. It's really bulky all around with 80, 90, 130 bulk. 130 special defense is ridiculous. And hits decently hard with 110 special attack. Now, I used to not like Latias when I used it the first time because it was like, it just kind of came in and then died. But I started to like it a lot more because it's a fantastic setup sweeper. Calm Mind Latias is so scary. It gets Sword Power, which is good. It gets Reflect type, which is my favorite move ever, so you can beat things like Mega Scizor, which, spoilers, I did that. Like Calm Mind, Store Power, Reflect type, and Roost, and you just kind of beat teams with Mega Scizor. Especially if they don't have a reason to run Fire move against your draft, they're kind of fucked. Shout out to Kelly, and me choking. Whatever, not the point. The thing that kind of makes it, that gives it the different thing over Latios, the big difference is Healing Wish, obviously. Healing Wish is a really cool move in draft format because if you have one of big threats, like previously mentioned Lando-I or Kyurem-Black, who kind of just destroy your opponent's team, opponent manages to get them worn down and you just Healing Wish them up and your opponent is sad. Even though you should never have Latias and Kyurem-Black on the same team, but I think you get the point. Healing Wish is a very, very good move, and Latias with 110 speed is a very good use of it because you cannot speed things and you just get back to full, and it's pretty great. Also, Latias is another one of those Pokemon that can beat its counters just by being naturally ridiculously bulky on the special side. Having Reflect type, having Calm Mind, all of those really, really good options against opposing counters, quote unquote. So yeah, it gets Draco, obviously gets Psychic Stab, and also gets things like Energy Ball, it gets T-Ball, it gets Ice Beam. So a bunch of cool moves that you can use to make opposing potential switch-ins or checks not as much of a check serve as well. That's really cool. It gets Trick, it gets Wish and Roost for healing, so if you want to have a Wish Passer, I guess Latias can do that. It doesn't typically want to, but it's definitely an option. As I said, best defogger probably out there for a lot of people. And it's just really, really solid Pokemon. It gets T-Wave as well, which is probably a really important move to mention because it's the best move in the game. So yeah, I like Latias. I think it's really cool. I think a lot of people see it as one of the best Pokemon in draft format, and like it's usually around one pick. I can definitely get behind it by now because it's really, really good. It's a great support one, and it can be a great sweeper or just wall breaker potentially even. Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, definitely. Latias is a mon that fits on pretty much anybody's team. Like, like you said, the coverage it has is really, really nice. It does have secondary stab to kind of deal with fairies. Because it's not quite as strong as Latios, you may have trouble being able to 2-KO things like Clefable or Florges. But it is still extremely strong. If you are looking to cripple your opponent's defensive mon or cripple the switch-ins that this thing has, you can run a trick set. I've run trick with choice specs before to cripple, I believe, my opponent's Reuniclus. And even though it's not quite as strong as Latios, base 110 Stab Draco Meteor is still very, very nice. It does have the same coverage, so things that wall it in Standard cannot wall it in League play as long as you prep correctly. You can run Thunderbolt for things like Skarmory, you can run Hidden Power Fire for things like Ferrothorn, you can run Energy Ball for certain bulky water types. So it is relatively strong, of course, with the base 110. Like you said, the bulk is the big thing that it has over Latios, that and the Healing Wish and Reflect type options. So even though it does have very solid offensive options, the supportive moves and the setup ability that this thing has is really, really good. Like you mentioned, the Reflect type Calm Mindset can just straight up beat teams, especially if you're running like mono attacking Psyshock, then you will be able to beat your opponent's team. You'll be able to beat other Calm Mind Sweepers, of course, because you're hitting them on the physical side, and if they're running Psyshock as well to hit you on the physical side, at least you resist that, and you're probably hitting them harder. Of course, you have to make sure your opponent's Dark type is gone, but it's beside the point. If you're running Dragon Pulse, then just make sure you get rid of your opponent's Fairy, and then you're good. I also really like Sub-Calm Mind as well, being able to avoid any sort of status, and then being able to set up, which is really nice. This is also a very good berry user. This and Latios are very good Colbur Berry users or Yachi Berry users, just because you'll be able to take something like a knockoff and then fire back a very powerful Draco Meteor. So it has really, really good options. It even has access to things like Sucker Punch, which you don't see too often, but can come in handy, like if you're facing a Mega Alakazam or something like that, you want to get damage off onto that before it hits you. That's fine, or like a Scarf regular Hoopa or something like that. It is there. It also gets access to Tailwind, which I don't necessarily love in singles, but it is there. It can definitely help teams out. Like, this is a very good supportive mon as well, just because it has things like Tailwind and then Healing Wish, so you can set up a Tailwind, Healing Wish out, heal something, get that thing under Tailwind, which is really nice. Also has Roar for phasing, if you decide you want to do that. So this is another one of those Pokemon where you can just run the standard like Life Orb, Draco Meteor, Psyshock, Roost Defog set, or you can get fancy with it and it'll probably do really well either way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely. I'm just looking, is there anything else we should probably mention with this thing? No, not really. Also, I guess it gets
Maybe
Natural
Refresh,
Gift. That's cool.
Refresh is a cool move.
Yeah, Refresh is an option. Psycho Shift is also really cool. If you want to do that. I think I've seen somebody use Psych Up before, which is also pretty cool.
I guess that's a thing.
Yeah, there's this thing has a lot of different options, so it's very difficult to pick out, like, to cover everything, because there's a lot of different things this thing can do. If you're looking to get this thing, definitely try and grab it round 1. It's a very solid Pokemon to have. It's going to support your team very nicely. Not just offensively, not just supportively, but also one of the best defoggers in the game, and can lead to you grabbing other Pokemon that you want to draft later on that are maybe weak to rocks that you wouldn't want to grab unless you had a solid hazard remover like this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Cool guy. Girl.
And then, of course, Latios' blue counterpart, we have Latios, which is somewhere on the screen. There it is. Okay. So I happen to like Latios a little bit better than Latias, literally only because me like hit hard. So
You just hit it every time. It's not getting any funnier.
Yeah, okay. They haven't heard it yet. It's okay. So the big difference between Latios and Latias, of course, is while Latios is not as bulky, does not have all of the supportive options that Latias has, is it has 20 higher special attack, which is really, really nice. Its Draco Meteors are going to be hitting that much harder, its Psychics and Psyshocks are going to be hitting that much harder, it's a little bit of a better Life Orb user, it's a better Scarfer as well, just because you're able to hit things a little bit harder than Latias, it's a better Specs user as well. So, again, like, we covered pretty much everything that it has, we covered pretty much everything about Latias, and Latios is very, very similar. Of course, like I said, other than the power, it does have a couple other things that it can do differently. For one, it has the option...
One move?
What? You can go ahead.
Can we not mention that move, please?
Instead of Healing Wish, it has Memento. Which can be used. It also...
Landorus, and then
it also has the option of being a Dragon Dance sweeper, which is not necessarily great, but it can definitely pull off some sweeps in certain games. Being able to Dragon Dance up is very... Well, yeah. like RTK. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much else different about Latios than there is Latias. Is there anything that I missed other than like Memento and Dragon Dance? I guess it doesn't get Sucker Punch, which is fine.
I don't know why it doesn't, it's stupid. But yeah, I think I like Latios more, but I've only used Latias. But Ow is cool. I like Ow. And Latios can also still be really bulky. Like, it still has the same physical, almost the same physical bulk. 88
and still,
80,
yeah,
90,
still very
and
good special defense. I guess,
yeah, still ridiculous.
Yeah, so it can definitely be a bulky Combine Sweeper. Paul actually used that against me, and that was the biggest thing that ended up allowing him to defeat me, which is a bulky Combine Latios, which forced me to sack 2 things in order to get damage off onto it. Also, you can run the... What?
Only if I brought that with Latios against you.
Yeah, if only. But... Also, you can also just run a straight-up Combine offensive, like, Life Orb Latios just to wall break a little bit, so you can run, like, Draco Meteor, Psyshock, Combine, and Roost. And Combine is not necessarily there just to sweep, but literally just there to boost your special attack and get extra powerful hits off so that you can 2-KO or OHKO things that you wouldn't be able to before. You can do that with Latias as well, but typically when you're running Combine Latias, it's because you're running a bulkier Latias, which while you can do with Latios, you can also run an offensive Combine set as well.
Yeah. So that's Latios.
Yeah, that's Latios. Again, not
also
too
run
much.
One, like Latias.
What was that?
Also run one pick, just like Latias. Obviously.
Okay, yeah. I guess we'll talk about very briefly the mega versions of each of them. So,
Don't allow Latias.
What?
Don't allow Latias. Just don't do it.
You probably don't allow Mega Latias. It's like, it is sometimes matchup dependent, because sometimes there will be teams with like a good dark type that can kind of beat it, but like, Mega Latias is just stupid bulky. It still hits really hard. It's an even better Combine Sweeper. It's dumb. It's
Nothing
really
kills
good.
it. Ever.
Yeah, like nothing kills it. It also has Reflect type to take hits. It also takes, I think, like 50% from Scissor's Banded U-Turn or something like that, so... It's super bulky. It's still, like, it's really, really good. The reason you don't see the Mega Latis as often as you see the regular Latis in draft format, or in standard play, is just because the regular Latis do about what they do a little bit better. Like, the only thing Mega Latios has over regular Latios in standard is that Mega Latios is a bit better of a Dragon Dance sweeper. What Mega Latias does in standard a bit better than regular Latias is Combine sweeping. But typically when you're running a Lati in OU, you're running it because you need a defogger, and they're both very good offensive defoggers. However, in draft play, they're a little bit more free to do what they want, and certain Pokemon that stop them in OU don't exist in, or are much less common in draft play. Just like, for an example, Mega Latios can absolutely be special, like, 4 attacks and whatnot, even though it's, yeah, let me just get on Mega Latios so I don't look stupid here. Okay, 160 special attack, while that is definitely, like, really solid, it hits weaker than Life Orb Latios. So, like, you're still doing a lot of damage to things, but you're not doing as much damage as you can with a regular Latios. However, it more than makes up for that because it gains in bulk. It has 80, 100, 120 bulk, which is extremely good. You can take knockoffs relatively easily and then fire back an attack. It is a better Dragon Dance sweeper, like I said. It gains a lot of attack, it goes up to 130, so you're able to Dragon Dance up, hit things very hard. That's the same physical attack stat as Mega Charizard X. Obviously you don't have the Tough Claws boost, but regardless, you still have access to recovery, you still have access to powerful dual stab and outrage and Zen headbutt, you can have access to earthquake as well. It also is a very good Combine sweeper. Both the Mega Latis are. Mega Latias, of course, a little bit better because of its bulk, but Mega Latios is a good Combine sweeper just because its added bulk is really nice. You can Combine up versus certain fairies, you can Combine up against other Combine sweepers. So they're both really good. They're both good in standard, it's just you'd rather use the regular Lati. In draft format, however, Mega Latis really shine because they're just so good for a lot of different reasons. If I missed anything, you can go ahead because I feel like that was a little choppy.
Just don't allow Latias. Just trust me, it's stupid. It's way too bulky. It lives everything. It sets up on literally everything. It 6-0 teams like very easily. If you don't have a fairy or a dark type, sub Combine just beats you. Like straight up, there's nothing you can do pretty much, or barely anything. You can, of course. It's very hard to deal with that set. Granted, every team should have those two, but it's not always possible to get a fairy. So there's that. I don't want to see it ever. I have it in the league, but the league is dead, so I can't even abuse it. It's sad. I got 6 kills with Mega Latias in one game without call mines. It's not fun. Mega Latias just chews hits for days and does a lot of damage without being invested. I think the main thing that makes Mega Latios more fun to use than regular Latios is you can run bulky. You can like a defensive thingy, Mega Latios, and still do like 1,000,000 damage to everything. Just because of that natural special attack set, which like without a life orb on Latios, does that make sense? That makes sense. Yeah, it's like defensive Mega Latios still hits ridiculously hard, and that's just stupid. And Latias is the same, just not as hard, but it sets up on everything. That's the whole point I'm trying to make, and I'm talking way too much, so I'm just gonna stop here.
It's okay.
We should do like an extra separate thing on these two, because like we probably won't. Okay, that's all the Latias in one go. Don't allow Latias, consider Latios maybe. Mega. Cool. Moving on. Best Mega in the draft format. Hey, Mega Lopunny.
Oh, we're there already.
Yeah. Okay. So if you don't know both of us, we are the 2 best Mega Lopunny users in history, obviously. I think Mono actually is, and I'm like close. But I think combined we got over 40 kills in last PBL season.
Wow, that's
over the 2 divisions. Yeah. Both, like Mega Lopunny died once for both of us.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Mine was still flinch.
Yeah, mine was to being bad and getting a high roll on something. Whatever. Mega Lopunny, very straightforward Pokemon. 135 speed, 136 attack is really good. It has good bulk as well in 65, 94, and 96, and decent defenses. They don't just die to everything like regular Lopunny does. They can take a couple hits, which is really cool. You can sub up on some walls even. And the main thing, of course, is Scrappy. Normal fighting with Scrappy hits the entire game for neutral damage. There's nothing that resists this dual stab, and that's ridiculous. Closest thing you can get to resisting this, I guess, is Cofagris with Mummy, which is a hard wall, pretty much. But even that can get beaten by like sub-toxic sets. It's like, Mega Lopunny just is a mon that doesn't break walls usually. It can break some, just because of its move pool, like Encore and stuff like that, or Cosmic Power even. But it just cleans up. Late game, it's very, very hard to stop, if at all possible. You usually have a switch into it because it doesn't like treat care of fat things, but it comes close enough to the point where it's gonna be a problem late game. Usually it's like 40% to most Pokemon, roughly around 40%. So like that's really, really strong. As I said, the speed is ridiculous. The utility options are cool because usually you only need Fake Out, strong Fake Out, and Quick Attack, which is cool by the way. Strong priority is always good. You have Fake Out and you have Dual Stab. You have one more move that you can play around with, which can be something like Power Punch to boost your attack and just be ridiculously strong. Quick Attack if your opponent has potential Scarf that you worry about, or like priorities like Talonflame. Agility, if you expect your opponent to bring a Scarf on, you can Agility on that, which I think is a cool option. Or a safe fighting move, like Drain Punch if you don't want. Or of course, Elemental Punch? Elemental? Yeah,
yes, Elemental. There you go.
I'm so smart. Like, if something's 4 times weak to one of those, like Lando-I, you can pack that, or Gliscor, and break that down, which is very cool. It gets like some support options in Heal Bell and Healing Wish, which they exist. I don't recommend them, but they exist. They're there. It also gets Low Kick for a safer fighting move, which is almost as strong as I Jump Kick against some Pokemon, so you can do that. And it gets T-Wave. T-Wave Mega Lopunny. It gets the best move in the game. So like, Cosmic Power is a cool option. I've seen my buddy Will use that recently in the draft league game. Won him the game because he could PP stall his opponent, which is ridiculous. The thing can also be Baton Pass. Baton Pass is also cool to just gain initiative, especially with things like Wobbuffet or Gothitelle. Just put Baton Pass out of them and just don't care. Pretty cool. And there's not much to say. Mega Lopunny just does its job very, very reliably, and you don't have to do much. I think everyone can do something with this thing. It's just very, very easy to use. If you're a little bit, more experienced in draft format, you can be more creative with the thing, and then it becomes ridiculous. Like, George has shown, and we both have shown to some extent. But even if you're like really new to draft format, I highly recommend using Mega Lopunny and just plowing through things because it's very easy. just don't click Fake Out every time. Just please, just don't.
Yeah, Mega Lopunny. I think Mega Lopunny is my favorite mon in draft format, and I would definitely, if I had first round pick in drafts, I would almost always take this thing. I think it's one of the best for sure. They're just bring standard like high jump kick, return, fake out, and then filler move, and then it's gonna put in work as long as you use it relatively smart. Like you said, it does have baton pass as well as like a utility move. Not only can you pass boosts, like you can pass power up punches if you want, you can pass agilities if you want. It is really nice to stop yourself from being trapped by shadow tag users. Also, if you invest with enough speed, Mega Lopunny outspeeds Scarf Gothitelle, which is really nice. I remember I did that versus Colton actually in the PPL. I baton passed out, or the plan was to baton pass out from Gothitelle and then go out into my Tyranitar to Pursuit Trap it. So it has a lot going for it just in the standard sets, and then there are very good things you can do with it to be a little bit more creative. There are encore sets so that you can beat the things that usually check it. Like you can lock something like Physically Defensive Clefable into its recovery move. You can lock in Psychic moves to its recovery move. You can lock something in with Stealth Rocks, something like that. Like you said, the physical move pool is solid, even though you're not going to always need it, just because, like you said, Scrappy Fighting in normal is usually all you need, plus a filler move. It is... I could go on for days about this thing. It, like you said, it's not frail. Like 65 HP is not great, but then 94 defense and then 96 Spadef is really solid. Its speed tier is so nice, so much to the point where you're outspeeding Scarfed base 70s. And then this, if you build around it properly, it's so good. It like Mega Lopunny loves Hazard Stack because you're able to get damage off onto everything, so that Okos are created from 2 AKOs, and then 2 AKOs are created from 3 AKOs. T-Spikes are also really nice to pair with this thing along with Hazard Stack, just because you can click Fake Out versus those things, get the Fake Out damage off, get the T-Spike damage off onto things. Pair this thing definitely 100% that you need with this thing is a Pursuit Trapper, like something good, like I think you had Skuntank, and then you had Skuntank, and then I had Tyranitar. They're both very solid. Tyranitar, of course, probably a little bit better just because it's a Tyranitar and it's ridiculous.
No, it's better. Fight me.
But what I usually ran on Lopunny for the longest time, and it's still like really good and like always gonna be really good, is I would run High Jump, Kick, Return, Fake Out, and then usually Toxic, just because you can status the things that would want to switch into you. Like if your opponent has like a Mega Audino, you can Toxic it, force it to go for Heal Bell at some point. Tangrowth, Toxic it, get some damage off onto it. Slowbro, bulky psychics, things like that. Like you said, dual priority is also really nice because Fake Out plus Quick Attack is enough to usually get about 50% onto certain things, particularly the Scarfers that want to outspeed it, which is very nice. Yeah. Like I think it did like 50 to 60% to Evelyn's Darmanitan or something, which is really, really nice. It is a very good sub-user, like you said as well.
Yeah. Like Quick Attack builds Talonflame after rocks. I think like Oko's Hitmonlee.
Probably Hitmonlee's like super frail. There are the only special move you could probably consider on this thing would be Ice Beam, just in case it hits something harder than Ice Punch, although that's kind of silly.
It doesn't.
What?
It doesn't. It does less to Lando.
But
unless you invest.
Yeah, But yeah, like I said, I could go on for days on this thing. Like you said, you can kind of wall this thing with certain ghosts like Aphagorgus and like maybe Dusknoir or something like that, but you can Toxic them on the switch-in, or you can run sub and then they have to run a coverage move other than stab to hit you, because of course you're immune to the ghost stab. It's genuinely incredible. Like, I would recommend drafting this thing always. It's so easy to build around. It's so good. There are still leagues considering banning this thing just because it consistently puts up big numbers every single season it's used.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I don't personally think it should be banned, but like there is an argument to be made about it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So incredibly good.
If you want to deal with Mega Lopunny for one, draft Cresselia, because it just doesn't care. But otherwise, run Rocky Helmet on things. That kind of helps. And also make 100% sure you have something outspeeded. Choice Scuffle or something like Mega Aerodactyl, which is outspeeded. because otherwise you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. That's what Mega Lopunny does. It's the best thing ever to have
Definitely.
to Pokemon.
Definitely. And I think we have mentioned there are definitely gimmick options. Like, for example, I think versus Jordan last season, I didn't end up doing this because he made transfers that I changed up my Lopunny set for, but I originally had an Agility Baton Pass set, just because he had Skarmory, which is one of the things that hard walls Mega Lopunny if you're physically defensive. So I planned to Agility on the switch and then Baton Pass out into something that swept his team. So it's like there are multiple ways to get around your counters with this thing.
Yeah. I think I ran like Fizz Def, like max defense with a little bit of attack once, to check Weavile, like Drain Punch, like max defense. Weavile didn't come. It still got 3 kills because just Mega Lopunny. Like 76 attack Adamant. Just Mega Lopunny just does its job no matter what. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. I think
You can
we've-
probably like run the stupidest set and still gonna do something.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. Somebody use Endure Flail and let me know how that goes.
Yes, oh my god, please.
Flail at 1 HP does, I think, double the amount of damage return does. So,
Why did I never do that?
because it's priority's a thing.
Not everyone has priority.
True. You can try it at some point. Somebody try that. But anyway, if we keep talking about Lopunny, our dicks are going to explode, so we're going to move on now.
Probably a bad say that.
Oh yeah. Also, one drawback to drafting Mega Lopunny, if you have a layout that you do GFX for, just typing in Lopunny is bad
Bad idea, yeah.
because people are awful.
But if you want to get the really good Lopunny art, type in Lopunny roof. Get really good art.
Okay, we're moving on now. We're
We're
moving on to Magnezone now.
Okay, talk about
Right,
it.
how long have we been? This is okay. So Magnezone. I like Magnezone a lot. It definitely has its problems, but I guess we'll talk about the positives first, or I'll talk about the positives first.
Positives. Funny.
The fuck? For one, it's an excellent fairy killer. It obviously is steel type. It has a very powerful flash cannon, base 130 special attack that can possibly be boosted by analytic. It's very bulky, 70 HP and then 115 defense, and then base 90 speed def is super good. Problems with it include its speed. Base 60 is just not very good. It does make up for it a bit with its bulk, but if you just slap anything with Earthquake or Fighting coverage, it'll be able to OHKO or 2-KO this thing. A big part of this thing, of course, is its ability Magnet Pulse, so it's able to trap Steel types, which can be very nice for certain Pokemon. Like if you have a Steel type that Kyurem-Black doesn't like, you can trap it and get rid of it. Or if you have like a Steel type that a certain Ice type doesn't like, or a Ground, why would a Ground type have a problem with a Steel type? Suppose you want to like.
Yeah, it's Skarmory.
Yeah.
Ground types.
Okay, there you go. So suppose you want like a Magnet. It's very good at trapping Steel types for your other Pokemon to have an easier time dealing with your opponent's team, which is nice. Of course, your opponent can always run Shed Shell, but that does force your opponent to run a Shed Shell instead of an item like Rocky Helmet or Leftovers, which can be very, very important. This is one of the most powerful specs users in the game. 130 special attack, like I said, is really nice. It's this very bulky. It makes for a good slow Volt Switch user as well, because you're getting a very powerful stab Volt Switch off. You're not just gaining the initiative. It's always dangerous for your opponent to switch into their ground type because it does have that very powerful secondary stab in Flash Cannon. It also has a couple cool gimmick options. So like for example, something that people occasionally run in OU, it's not very common now, but they run Air Balloon Magnet Rise so that you can trap Excadrill. Like you can switch into Excadrill's Earthquake, they break the balloon with Iron Head or Rock Slide, hopefully you don't flinch, and then you go for Magnet Rise and you knock it out with a couple Hidden Power Fires. That's always really nice. Of course that does work very well in Standard as well. Analytic is also like a super good ability because that just like Analytic specs Magneton in RU right now is one of the most powerful Pokemon, and then you're adding 15 special attack to that, or 10 special attack, whatever the boost is, to Magnezone, and then it's going to hit even harder. I said even twice for emphasis, that's good. There's not a ton of versatility in Magneton, or in Magnezone. Like, I guess you can run like dual screens if you want, like Magic Coat, Signal Beam, something like that. You know what Magnezone's gonna do, but there are teams where Electric Steel coverage just 2 KOs everything. Like, I remember when I was prepping for Necro, Magneton was one of the biggest threats to my team just because of its dual stab, and that's very true for Magnezone as well. It hits even harder. Again, the biggest drawback to this thing is definitely its speed. Like, its 4 times weakness kind of sucks, but it's not the worst thing in the world if you're killing things quickly, but unfortunately this thing just can't kill things quickly. It has to usually take a hit and then get off a powerful attack, unless you're running a Choice Scarfed. But even then, you're losing out on the power. It still is a very powerful Choice Scarf user, but you're not OHKOing a ton. And even with a Choice Scarf, you're still being outsped by anything above base 115, or base 115 and above.
Yeah. Another set that's kind of cool that you didn't mention is Sub Charge Beam, which I don't think is a thing. But like it used to be a thing, because you don't even need HP Fire, and you can set up on Ferrothorn all day. Which is kind of cool. Another thing with Magnezone is that it, unlike a lot of other electric types, it just doesn't, like, ground types just don't want to switch in because they don't want to take a Spec Slash into face because they're probably going to die, or take like 80% because Magnezone is really strong. I personally don't like it. It's just too slow for me, plus the 4 times weakness, the combination of those two is just not that fun, but it does its job. It also gets Explosion. It's a cool move. It should be mentioned just because it's Explosion. Always mention Explosion. I haven't actually seen Magnezone get drafted, like, a lot.
Yeah, I think Magneton actually goes faster than Magnezone usually.
Yeah, I think because usually it's cheaper and PPL isn't, because I think they're the same.
Yeah, I think they are the same, which is kind of weird, but it's like, kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, because they're like, whatever, that's the point. Yeah, Magnezone is a guy, it does damage. It helps with steel types, I guess. Like, not having a good item on a steel type, and it can trap things that, like, steel types that can't hold an item, like a Mega Aggron, which it lives, but you do a lot of damage to it and then weaken it for other threats in your team. What else is there? Mega Scizor, which cannot speed you, but if it does, it has to run a lot of speed, and then it can't kill you. Or
and I don't even think you can OHKO with superpower, because it's so bulky.
Yeah. It also can't take hits from other things if it's that speedy, so that's really cool. So it just forces prep, and that's kind of neat. Which, you know, if you have Pokemon that force prep, that's always a little bit of an advantage over your opponent, which is always cool to have. So yeah, I think we should start with the next Pokemon. I think the next Pokemon is good to start on. That's just a great Pokemon this time. We're both having currently orgasms. We can have 2 orgasms in one video. I can talk. We already had one over Lopunny. I think we should keep this for the next one.
Alright, yeah, we gotta recover. Okay, so thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to leave comments down below giving your opinions on the mons we covered today. Also, something that I haven't mentioned in other videos, if we say something, not necessarily just that you don't agree with, but if, like, suppose we say, like, like earlier we said Bisharp's not that good, and then, like, in your league Bisharp did really, really well, just leave that in the comment section below, because we're curious. We have been around a lot of different leagues, but of course we haven't been able to keep in contact with all of them. We're not sure of each mon's individual stats from each different league, so let us know if, like, we say something's bad and then it does really well, or if there's a mon that we covered that we really like that has never done good. Like, if your league has never had a Mega Lopunny be in, like, the top 10, let us know, because I think that's never happened ever before, but it is possible. Regardless, leave your feedback in the comment section below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, goodbye. Fuck.
What's funny?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know what I'm laughing at.
Same. Just leave this in.
Okay.
This is part of the video.
Okay.
One was a small penis. Okay. Okay, maybe don't leave this.
Okay, we're done. We're done now.
What is funny?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Okay.
I'm crying. My life's over.
So the last
Like 20 years. Help. Okay, maybe we should start over.
Okay. So the last.
You put this at the end as Uber, but you know.
Okay, here we go. 3,